Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Western Herald Headlined, your show that we put on here at Western Herald, where we give a little deeper look at some of the news from the previous week and talk about what's going on. I'm Aidan, Ralko, multimedia editor for Western Herald, and today I'm joined by
Joseph Hartzell, and I'm the lead sports reporter.
And I'm Kayla Lambert, I'm managing editor.
Awesome. Great crew here. We've been on a little bit of a hiatus because there was a awesome, very calm spring break in between our previous episode and this one. How was your guys' spring break?
You know, mine was pretty chill, just went home. But Joey, you had some adventures, didn't you?
Yes, I ended up in New York City for a
Wow.
few days, and
Okay.
that was enjoyable. Had some really, really good food. Saw
Nice.
Hamilton, which was cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was a good time. Nice.
And that was your first Broadway experience, right?
First like really musical experience. I'm gonna be
Wow.
honest. I'm more of
Wow.
a sports
And you
person.
started strong with Hamilton, too.
I did.
Yeah,
It was
it's a
it
good
was
one.
very enjoyable. I enjoyed it more than I expected.
Yeah.
Honestly, like I wasn't sure if I would like a musical or not, and I really enjoyed it.
Wow.
Okay.
That's awesome.
Unfortunately, could not get into the Madison Square Garden for the Knicks game
Oh,
the night before, but
no.
Dang.
things happen.
Yeah.
I'll be back. I'm
You
sure.
make up for
Yeah.
it with Hamilton. So.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
That's a good trade-off there, I'd say,
I would
probably.
say.
Yeah, I also just went home, and my family has like a projector in our basement, so and a pretty decent sound system as well. So that was really what I was doing. I watched a
Okay.
lot of movies. So
What was the top movie you watched?
the
Best
top
you watched?
movie I watched a lot. I'm gonna go with it's called Dream Scenario.
Okay.
It came out in 2023, I
Okay.
believe. It's got Nick Cage in it, and he just plays a professor who somehow ends up appearing in like a lot of people's dreams
Oh.
across the country.
Interesting.
and then
That's very...
Yeah, and then
Yeah.
he gets like famous really fast, and there's some downsides to it and stuff. So
Okay.
it was good. It was good. It was A24, so
Yep.
that's a staple. People love the A24 films,
Mhm.
but yeah.
Nice.
But we cover news here at Western Herald along with a lot
do.
of things. So that's what we're going to get into. Recently, when you're watching this, it would be last Wednesday. There was a guest speaker brought to WMU by WeTalk, Jonathan Haidt. He was the author of the book The Anxious Generation. It's a New York Times bestseller about Gen Z and sort of how we're different to other generations due to being kind of some digital natives and stuff like that,
Yeah.
and how that's influenced us. But yeah, so we had an interview. Maddie Sneller, she got to talk to Jonathan before his event. You can watch that video. It's kind of plays like a podcast. It's on our YouTube and website if you're interested. But I wanted to ask you guys what you kind of think about all that.
Yeah. So I have not read the book, but I'm definitely intrigued by this concept of like the relationship between social media and mental illness. But I think also just like, I think there's more to what he talks about in the book. I think pinning mental illness on like for an entire generation on one thing specifically is, I think, in my opinion, a little limiting. But, you know, I'm not a psychologist, so I can't say for sure. But yeah. Joey, what do you think?
I thought the idea of the overprotective in the real world and underprotective in the digital world for like Gen Z and today's children, which I don't know exactly what generation we're in now that's like 10 years old, but
Yeah, I
they're
think it's
is
like
it alpha?
Alpha or beta. Is
But I'm sure that they're probably experiencing the same exact things
Mhm.
of you see parents who are incredibly overprotective in the real
Yeah.
world and won't let their kids do anything, won't let them go anywhere, like all sorts of crazy things, but also just have no control over what their kids do on the digital world, which in my opinion is every bit as dangerous, if not more dangerous than like the real world. I mean, kids have been playing outside in neighborhoods for centuries, and like you can say times are different, and sure that's true, but to an extent, like we have kids who are just becoming reliant on screens when they're growing up because they're not allowed to do anything outside of the house, and so what they do inside of the house is just unregulated internet access.
Yeah. Another thing that is similar to, kind of goes off of what you just said, is it is very like kind of eye-opening in a way when you think about how new a lot of social media and stuff is. Like YouTube's not even 20 years old, And it's weird because to us it's always been around, kind of. Like I remember when I first got an iPod, there was like the YouTube app, and it was like the little TV
Little
box
pan
or whatever.
TV box,
Yeah.
yeah.
So like it's kind of always been around, and we haven't experienced what it's been like without it. And also with that, we were there when, you know, it was kind of a new frontier, so to speak, and there were not a lot of rules to that. And like you see now, there are guidelines to social medias and like different rules that you have to follow, or else your content gets taken down and stuff. And I feel like a lot of that wasn't fully there when we were getting used to social media and getting on it. So that part is interesting. I do think there's like a weird level of exposure that we got that some people moving forward might not get. Like it's not going to be the same.
I think there's also something to the way that people are willing to hide behind a screen in a way that like a social interaction just wouldn't be the same. And that's where I think you see some of the mental health issues that Haidt argues come from social media. Because just to bounce it a little bit off of sports, there was an Indiana basketball player yesterday who talks about, you know, every time they lose, he opens up his Instagram account and he's got 150 direct messages from people that are like telling him to do terrible things to himself. And it's just like, people would never be willing to say that in person. And the ability to hide behind a screen has kind of made it so that people feel comfortable saying whatever, even if that significantly harms somebody else.
Well, and I think too, also, mental health is something that has only been a conversation for the past, 10 years.
Yeah.
So I think also our generation is the first generation that's actually being treated for a lot of mental health stuff. Like I know my grandma, she definitely has some mental health issues, but she refuses to talk about it or receive treatment for, because her generation has so much stigma around it. So I think in addition to, our generation growing up on social media, in addition to COVID and having social media being the only source of communication that we have with the outside world, in addition to being the first generation that actually talks about mental health and like receives treatment for it in a way that's destigmatized. Yeah. I think kind of is a collection of things that kind of makes mental health seem more significant in our generation.
Yeah. I completely agree. I feel like you said, because it's kind of more talked about and stuff, I wouldn't say that we're the anxious generation or like the most anxious. It's not like you said, it's not like this is something that's just showing up now. I think it's the most openly anxious generation is what I would say. But yeah.
Yeah. Great conversation, guys.
Yeah, we killed it. Good work, everyone.
Did either of you go to his WeTalk event? I did not attend it. I had class at the time.
Yeah, I had class as well, but I listened to the interview with Maddie, and then we got to talk a little bit with the WeTalk people and kind of work on a little partnership there about trying to support each other. So I've learned a little bit about it, and yeah, it's an interesting topic that I think probably needs to be looked at a little bit closer. And it probably will be for years and years to come, but yeah.
Definitely an open conversation.
Yeah, for sure. Yep. And to move it to a little bit of a lighter note, we had a video go out over spring break. It was produced by Jade Czak and Nick Kahl, some of our multimedia people. It was about the Bronconess wine company that runs through the Hayworth College of Business. Basically, if I remember correctly, it's sort of like a class that the students take, and they get some like hands-on real-world experience running a like fully functioning real wine company.
Wow.
They come up with flavors and stuff. I think they have a peach, and I can't remember what the other flavor was, but I want to say raspberry. That might be wrong. But those are the two flavors they've got right now, and they've got them, I think it's in Meyer around here.
Yeah.
I know it's in some of the liquor stores around here.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I think one of the things that I love about Western is the fact that there's a lot of, and this isn't like a plug, this is like a genuine thing that I appreciate, is the fact that there's so much like out of class experience that you can get in class, if that makes any sense. Like classes extend into the real world, and it just becomes something that like you can like these students can take this experience with them
For sure.
very far.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that that's really cool.
Yeah.
So many of those classes also partner with like
Yeah.
SROs and stuff outside of the classroom to kind of combine the real world experience with
Yeah.
the book work, which I
Mm-hmm.
really, really love about Western.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. It's kind of just to echo the same sentiment. I
Yeah.
do think out of all the things that Western does, that is one of the strongest points that
Mhm.
they have. That I know it's something that they market around a lot. And,
Yeah.
I mean, as they should, because that is one of the better things I've taken away from my time here. And yeah, so if you're interested in that video, go check it out. They did a great job. There's some great camera work in there. That thumbnail of the glass in the bottle, that
Yeah.
was one of my favorite shots that they did.
It's a beautiful video.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So they did great. If you want to check that out. But I something about it that I thought kind of drew a similarity from is with Western Herald
Mm-hmm.
and wider as well. Even we kind of operate similarly
Yeah.
in a way. You know,
Yeah.
like we have Glenn, who is our advisor to student media, but a lot of this is student ran and.
Yep.
We make decisions and stuff. And I wanted to kind of ask you guys what that's been like, learning like journalism, real world experience, stuff like that. Like, is that something that you've taken away?
Yeah. I'm not a journalism major. So all of the journalism kind of like ins and outs that I've learned over the past 2.5 years have come from Western Herald.
Yeah.
And I do genuinely believe that it's been the most educational. Not to say that my other education, like my in-class education's been bad. I just think that it's been, my in-class education has been wonderful. And this has been like beyond anything that I could have imagined. So yeah, I've definitely learned a lot.
I would say that, I mean, I am a journalism major, so I differ from Kayla a little bit, but I have probably, based on my timeline, learned more being at Western Herald, just because I joined the Western Herald before I switched, like right as I was switching to a journalism major.
Yeah.
So I had zero journalism experience before joining the Herald, and I have really just learned a lot on the job. I mean, basically what I want to do in my career is a lot of what I do for the Herald, like going to games, interviewing people, things like that. So it's been super educational for me. It's been great. You know, I've gotten used to being in these professional environments. I've gotten used to networking. I've gotten used to doing things like that. And I would say that we have a great support system here. And then being on that editorial board has really been, the first time I've really been in like a managerial position almost,
Yeah.
like really any authority. I'm sure a lot of people at the Western Herald, you guys included, have a lot of experience at lower level jobs like myself, you know, waiting tables, doing the entry level positions. And so like getting that kind of managerial experience in a leadership role, even being a lead reporter and not like an editor or anything, has been super helpful. Like I've gotten to make decisions on the editorial board. I've gotten to be involved in conversations that I wouldn't have been involved in as a staff reporter. And so it's been huge for me to learn how to lead a little bit, because that has been new for me. That's been very new for me.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's our little shameless plug
Yeah.
for Western Herald and some of the real world experience that we provide. But moving beyond that, Western Herald also covers sports, and we have a sports writer here, so it would be
sports lover.
Yes, it would be a shame not to capitalize on that. So Joey, I know as of right now, basketball is pretty much through, both women's and men's.
Yes, Western's women's team and the men's team both made the MAC tournament this year, which
There you go.
only 8 teams making it in the MAC. That's a little bit of an accomplishment, especially for the men's team. They've really struggled to make it before Dwayne Stevens got here, and give him credit because he has done a good job getting this team consistently in the MAC tournament. But both teams losing in the first round. In the women's side, Western goes down to Ball State by a score of 82-53. Ball State was really good this year. That was best team in the conference. They've been consistently better than pretty much everybody else in the MAC on the women's side, and so it's really not a surprise to see the women's team go down, but still a relatively successful season. You know, making the MAC tournament, competing, getting in the conference tournament's a big deal. Just giving yourself a shot. And then the men's team lost a pretty hard-fought game to Kent State last night. Got down by around 20 in the first half, but really went on a comeback, made a little bit of a run. cut it down to like a 4, I believe, with like
Wow.
7 minutes left. So those guys fought back. They played hard. There's a lot of young guys on the roster. So hopefully some
promising.
talent should come back for Dwayne Stevens next year. And 6th in the MAC is one of the better finishes this team has had in quite some time.
There you go. There you go. I know the sort of the talk of the town, so to speak, is the hockey team. Doing very good, I believe. Was it their first conference championship that they won recently? Is that the first?
Yes, this was the first regular season conference championship in program history. So not
Wow.
just in the NCHC, which is the conference we currently play in, which was created, I believe, in 2014.
Yeah.
But going back in the entire 51 years of program history, this is our first regular season conference championship. We're consensus top 3, I would say, for the most part in any media poll you might see out there. It's us, Michigan State, and Boston College, who we
Wow.
have played already this year. We played both of them. Lost 4-2 on the road to Boston College at the beginning of the year, and then lost 3-1 over winter break to Michigan State. But this team is really fighting for a 1 seed, 5th in pairwise. And for those of you who don't know what pairwise is, it is the mathematical system that the NCAA uses to seed teams in the NCAA tournament. And this team is fighting with Maine right now for that last 1 seed spot. Minnesota, Michigan State, and Boston College have all effectively locked up a 1 seed, and there's one still up in the air right now, and it's pretty much between us and Maine. So a big showing this weekend against St. Cloud State would do wonders for us, as well as getting some quality wins in Minneapolis at the Frozen Face-Off next weekend, when we'll most likely see teams such as Arizona State, Denver, Omaha, some of that higher quality opponent that'll really help your resume getting into the tournament.
Yeah. When you're starting off the tournament, going and playing some of these harder teams that have made the tournament as well, what do you think the team needs to keep doing to kind of stay alive, and some of the things that maybe need to be tweaked?
Well, this team, I would say, has been great on special teams. It's one of the top penalty kills in the entire country, as well as one of the top power plays in the entire country. And so the ability to consistently be positive in special teams, whether it's +1, +2, even sometimes you see like +3, because Western draws a lot of penalties. They have a lot of very talented skaters, and so that leads to a lot of penalties with teams not being able to keep up with them or be physical with them. And just staying strong on special teams, that's really, I think, the chance for Western to get upset is to have a rough game on special teams against a lesser team. Maybe give up a couple of power play goals, have a couple sloppy penalty kills, and don't score. But this team has just been really dominant in regulation, I think. I believe only 1 regulation conference loss, which is just unheard of. That's incredible in a conference as strong as the NCHC. And a lot of that goes to the goaltending, the duo of Rowe and Slakinski. And I think it seems that they've kind of made the move to go to Hampton and Slakinski full-time now, whereas before, earlier in the season, Cam Rowe and him were splitting time. Cam is the fifth-year senior on our team. He's been third-year at goaltender. He's had a very, very strong career at Western. And Hampton Slakinski is the younger brother of Grant Slakinski, and he's our freshman goaltender, who has also been very incredible. Led the conference in goals allowed per game, by the way.
Wow.
So he's been great, and it seems like we've kind of, like Pat Ferschweiler's kind of put his confidence in Hampton, and that's who we're going to see in net for the rest of the year. And so staying strong and helping out your freshman goaltender, who has some really incredible talent, but might not quite have that experience. Helping him out and not putting him in situations where he has to be superhuman would be really huge. And you've seen guys like Robbie Drasner on the defensive end who've been great, just doing the little things, winning puck battles, making sure we keep possession, keeping a strong forecheck. So credit to guys like Owen Michaels in the on the front line. And I think that's really been a reason you've seen the goaltenders be so successful.
Yeah, I know. When you're watching this, the series at home this past weekend will be over. I know it's a busy weekend. Are you guys planning on going or anything?
No.
Yes, so I will be there covering and live tweeting.
There you go.
On Friday and Sunday if necessary. Okay. With it being a conference tournament first round, it is a best of 3 instead of the traditional just 2 games weekend series. So Depending on the results on Friday and Saturday, we may have a Sunday game, and if we do, I will be there.
Interesting.
Okay.
Jack Minicky, sports editor, shout out Jack. We love Jack. Snaps for Jack. He will be there on Saturday, and I'm guessing he will also be live tweeting that out. So if you were unable to watch and want to follow along on Twitter, follow the Western Herald Sports Twitter. I forget exactly what the handle is, but
you can find it.
I believe it's just Herald Sports on Twitter.
Okay.
And we'll be shouting out me and Jack's accounts, and you'll be able to follow along through there if you need.
Nice.
All right, Kayla, what about you?
No, I got other plans. I got to build a print. So
Yes.
if you're hearing this or if you're watching this on a Monday, make sure you pick up our print edition.
Yes.
So I'll be on my grind for that this weekend. So
Yes, we put that out every 2 weeks.
Mhm.
Kayla does a fantastic job as
you.
managing editor, throwing that stuff together. It always looks beautiful.
thank you.
You can find print stand locations in pretty much every building.
Yeah,
Right?
if you go on our Instagram, we've got a pinned
Yes.
post that's got a list of places on campus with photos on where they are in each building.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Grab one of those. They're great.
They're free, by the way. It's
They're
not like
free.
it costs anything. So
Yeah.
make sure you pick one of those up and stay updated on everything going on around
Yeah.
campus.
Yeah, for sure. But I think that will just about do it for this week's episode of Western Herald Headlined. Thank you for watching and listening. Reminder that you can check out some of the stories we've talked about and find much more at westernherald.com. And you can stay up to date with what we're doing by following us on all of our socials. It's pretty much Western Herald wherever you look.
Yeah.
So thank you for watching.